Hello, and welcome to a series of videos I'm calling Football 101. My name's Theodore. Channel name is Dashric. I currently live in Amsterdam, Netherlands, and I'm an inside linebacker for the Hilversum Hurricanes. I figured there's a lot of people around in Europe that don't necessarily understand American football. So I put a series of videos together in a playlist that helps illustrate just the basics of it in short little nuggets, and if you are a prospective player to the sport, this might help you understand some of the intricacies in more of a bookwork form you can watch on a YouTube video, rather than having to go all the way to practice and figure it out kind of while you're in the process of getting hit. In this video, we're going over, so we're going to be dealing with half of the field, because the other half is, there is a thing called split field concepts, but pretty much you can take this side and mirror it to the other side. It's the same thing. So since we're dealing with the defense, we're going to put the line of scrimmage down here, and then we'll put the sideline here, and we'll put the hashes over there. So we are looking at the left side of the field. Okay, so we're going to put the yard marker here, and this just says we are at the 40 yards, and that direction is that goal line. So the 50 doesn't have arrows on it. Not all fields are marked that way, but that's generally how I've seen a lot of them done it. Okay, so we're dealing with the area names here, and based on your defensive plan, you may be required to go out to this area. So like in the previous video, this is, as you can see, this is called the flats. In a cover 2, a corner would be here. In a cover 3, a linebacker may be here, or a strong safety. It all depends. So we're just covering the names of the areas here. So this goes back a little bit more than the flats, but it's much more narrow. This field's not to scale. This is a generalized idea. This is a place where linebackers and strong safeties would probably go. Assuming you have, like, for instance, a corner down in your flats, you'd have someone else cover this area. Again, depending on your defense. In absolute zone coverage, a linebacker would be here. And that is the middle of the field. So why is there not anything here? Because you're usually, this is a couple yards when dealing with the line. So the offensive line and the defensive line are having a trench battle right here. So you're not really, I mean, to be fair, the middle linebacker would come up and take any routes that happen to come across the middle there, but usually they're about 30 yards back already. So this zone coverage is not defined as this is your actual thing. If they are 2 inches outside of it, don't, it's not your fault. No, it's your fault. Back here we have deep. To be fair, we are looking at a weird no man's land here. It's just an area. The flats can go back to about 6 or 7 yards. The deep can come down this way. It all depends on yourself if you're a corner, you would follow this guy and then he'd start running deep, but then the free safety would say, come over here, and he'd grab this guy and he would probably come into this area because he's already over the top in case he's beat you. Plus you need to watch to see if some guy's running out. That's just a sample play. It's generalized. We can go over a defense theory in another video. But this is basically what these areas are called. Like I said, this is kind of a weird, like, no man's land. And the deep just goes. It goes. So we use this as a cover 2. You have a corner, your will linebacker, and your field safety, and your middle linebacker. Does it make sense? So your corner would have this area, depending on how many, it's a different video on receiver stuff, but wherever the receivers go, generally everything is covered. So that's generally the basics of what it is. So if you happen to be a corner and they're just like, oh, it's cover 3, and you don't really know what that is, and they say go deep, they mean if you're here, go here. And follow anybody going to this area. if, you know, you've got this guy and he runs up a couple yards and then runs in, hook to curl. Now, there's subdivisions, like a curl to flat, and then a hook to force, but that's way further in, where you get the force is much more in this area. But like if you got a receiver that runs up and curls, that's why it's called a curl. Or they run up and they do a hook, it's because these are the kind of routes that will run in there. The flats is just, it's a flat part of the field, and then deep is deep, and that's the middle. I mean, they're not complexly named. All right, so that's that for defensive coverages. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below, and I will catch you guys in the next video.